Hey guys, it's Tina and I am back, and I'm here with a video that has been highly requested by you guys. And no, before you ask, it is not a makeup collection video, but it is more of a makeup organization video. Since I have changed my background, a lot of people have been asking me about this little setup right here that I have going on. And a lot of people are curious about my acrylic organizers. So I figured the best way to answer your questions is to do a walkthrough of the entire system and show you the different pieces and explain them to you, and then I can go into the prices and the dimensions and show you what size products actually fit in them and how you can actually incorporate them in your own collection. So let's jump into an overview of the system and then we'll talk about details later. So here's an overall look at my acrylic drawers, the complete setup that I have in my background, and this is where I store half of my collection. The other half is in Alex drawers that are on the bottom. So this is for display, and it's for the products that look nice in the background as well as fit into these drawers nicely. So they look a little bit more organized in these drawers than they would be in the Alex drawers beneath them. And I really like how everything comes together here. So as I mentioned, these are from the Container Store and they are from the Luxe Acrylic Modular system. And these are separate pieces that are stacked together in any kind of design that you choose. I personally have 6 separate pieces here. These are the wide, medium Luxe Acrylic Modular drawers. There are 6 of those drawers here. There are 5 here and then 5 on this side as well. Then on the top I also have one of the wide 4-section Luxe acrylic drawers. This one has a 4-section divider inside of it. And then on top of these 5 drawers I have a tray. This is the wide Luxe acrylic modular tray. And in the tray I'll have different products just stacked in there as well as some of my larger palettes. And then on top I have a little 3-drawer unit. These are from Bed Bath & Beyond. And they're 2 separate pieces with 3 drawers each, and I have liquid lipsticks and some lip glosses in here. And I find that this is really handy when organizing my lip products, so I like having these just on top. And then next to the modular system that I customized myself is an original beauty box, and this one was sent to me for consideration. And this is a 1-piece system, so all these drawers here from the top here downwards, this is 1 piece, and I use this to also organize some of my lip products, some of my lip pencils. These are mainly lip products, and then the very top drawer I have eyeshadows in there. And then on top of that I have some separate pieces also from the Container Store. This is from their Luxe system as well, and these are smaller organizers. These drawers here are the half-short Luxe acrylic modular drawers, so they're 2 separate drawers. And then next to that I have the quarter-tall Luxe acrylic drawers. And I just went ahead and did this on top because they fit well and they just flow in with all the acrylic drawers. And then in the back I also have an acrylic organizer, but this is pretty new to the lineup. I just put that back there to organize some of my concealers and some of my new lip products. So I'll go ahead and also show you a few more places where I use these drawers. So I have a few different ones sitting on the side of my desk. The top one is a wide medium Luxe acrylic Hinged-Lid box. This is also from the Luxe acrylic collection. And this one has a lid, if you can see in the back. But I didn't find much use for it. It wasn't really functional in my setup, so I've just used it as a tray to hold my brushes and my little brush holders. And I have a few sprays here, some makeup remover. This is pretty much for products that I'll use daily and I reach for, so they're really handy right here sitting on my desk. Then I have 2 other drawers beneath that are just stacked on each other, and these are actually not from the Luxe acrylic collection. These are still from the Container Store, from a different collection altogether. These are the landscape acrylic paper drawers, and these are meant for office storage where you can store your paper, your stationery. And I got the landscape version, which means the longer side of the drawers will be at the front and back, and then the sides are the shorter versions. And then beneath that I have one of the trays that I showed you that's on top of the other system. I just flipped it over so I could get a little bit of an elevation for these drawers, so I could easily pull them out rather than having them sitting flush on the desk, because sometimes I will have my towel laid out here with my brushes on them and it will block me from pulling out the drawers readily. So I just elevated them a little bit so I can pull them out easily even if I have products or brushes laying right in front of them. Then on the other side of my desk, I have a couple more drawers stacked from the Luxe system, as well as an open tray. Again, this is from the Container Store, but it's not from the same system. This one is just their large acrylic open stacking tray, and it is pretty deep, so I use this to just stack my foundation, some primers, and some different powders. These are just my everyday products. Well, I don't use them every day, but these are products that I need to reach for and try out and test out, mainly foundations and powders. Some contour products as well. These are just things that I would use for a daily face or whenever I'm doing a full face of makeup. And then beneath that, I have two of the half short Luxe Acrylic Modular drawers. These are from the Luxe system, and they call them half because they're half the length of the drawer beneath it, which is the wide modular drawer. So you need two of them to make up the length, and they fit perfectly and line up perfectly together. And again, these are just two drawers, and I have a couple of brushes in them, just handy dandy. I have brushes everywhere. I'm gonna show you where I have more brushes. And then I have one of the wide drawers underneath here that have a few more face products. So a lot of powders are in here and bronzer products. And again, this is just like a face section. So I have powders and brushes and foundations. Now we'll move on to a section that I am very proud of. This is a shelving system that is a part of my desk. So there are two different shelves, they're divided. And then I have the Luxe modular drawer system. I have different drawers of various sizes, and they fit exactly under this shelf, and they are perfect for little items that I need to be handy. And since they're on the side of my desk, I can reach for them pretty easily when I'm sitting right at my desk. And I have a few different drawers here. The first few ones you see here are those half modular drawers. Again, they're the half size drawers. These are the short ones. So I have 5 of those stacked. And then on the bottom, I have one that you haven't seen yet. This is the half tall Luxe Acrylic Modular drawer. And this is twice the height of the short ones. So it takes 2 of these to match up to one of these, as you can see. For the tall drawers, I have a few of them. I have 4 here on the bottom that just match up to the short drawers. So I have 2 on the bottom, and then I have 2 next to 4 of the short drawers. And then I have 2 more on the top shelf, and these actually end up being a shelf themselves for my Z palettes that have my Makeup Forever eyeshadows. I have my Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadows and some of my Makeup Geek eyeshadows as well. And it's just, everything just flows right here really well. I can just reach for products that I use here or there, or products that I reach for all the time. I have mostly eye brushes, some face brushes, I have face primers, and then I have concealers, and I have an empty drawer. I emptied this out so I can put some lip products in there and some new products that I recently got. And then hidden away in this little nook is a 1/4 short Luxe acrylic drawer. And this drawer is now 1/4 of the width of a wide drawer that would span the full length of this, and half the size of the half drawer. So you see how they do it half and 1/4? So it would take 4 of these to make up the full length. And this one is handy for eyeliners and lip liners. That's what I use it for. And I'm missing one more to just complete this section, so I need to pick one more up just to put on this side. So now we can go into the pricing and of course the dimensions, and this will give you a better idea of what size products will fit and how you can best incorporate this into your own organization. Alright, so now that you've seen the overall setup and how I've organized and arranged everything, we can get into the nitty-gritty details of dimensions, what products fit into what containers, and the pricing and where you can find these different items. Now, as I mentioned, the majority of these organizers are from the Container Store, except for one piece, which is an original beauty box, and this was sent to me. It is a 5-drawer organizer, and it comes as one piece, so you can definitely definitely look into that, and I'll leave the link below where you can check that out. Otherwise, everything else is from the Container Store, and the majority of the system is from the Luxe Acrylic Modular system, which they have different size organizers and different drawer sets that you can purchase, and they are stackable. So you'll see I have personalized it, customized it to fit my needs. I've arrange different sizes and dimension based on the products that I want to include, and I'm gonna go into each piece. Just keep in mind that each piece is separate and you would have to buy them individually and make them fit your organization, and they are priced from $11.99 to $36.99 for the larger pieces. So some key things to note about these acrylic organizers is that they're made from crystal clear acrylic. So it's very clear, it's very transparent, very see-through. It gives it a very crisp and elegant look to it. Instead of having that kind of cloudy acrylic or plastic that you can have sometimes, these are crystal clear, so they're really nice to look at. They look very luxe. And you can see your products really nicely displayed like I have them here. And each of the drawers also feature these faceted pulls on them. So they're little tabs that you use to pull the drawer out. Some people don't like that. Some people would rather have the finger pulls where there's a little indent right here that you can just use your finger to pull out the drawer. This is shown in the beauty box, so you can just pull out the drawers with these little cutouts in the drawers themselves. I actually don't mind the little tabs because they're easy for me to pull out, but they are small, so some people might find the grip a little awkward. So just keep that in mind. I personally don't have any issues with that, except that sometimes if they're really crammed or if there's a product that's stuck, it's harder to pull it out using the little tab here instead of doing a finger pull, which would be easier to do, have a little bit more force behind your pull. So that's something that they could tweak, but I don't mind the little tabs too much. There are also little rubber tabs on the bottom of each of the drawers, and this helps secure the drawers in place so they won't slip around. They will really stay stacked nice and tight. However, I find that as you move them around, the little tabs do slip off. So, you know, it doesn't really bother me because even though the tabs slip off, they still stay pretty secure and they don't move around when they're stacked on each other. But the little tabs, I mean, it's almost like they don't need to be there because they come off anyway. So that's another thing that they could work on. And the only other thing that I would mention is that the edges of these are pretty sharp. So you have to be a little bit careful. If you have children or if you yourself are clumsy, you might get some scratches from these edges. As you move them around, you can get scratches from the sharp edges. So that's something else that you have to keep in mind. So the way this system works is it's based off the largest piece from the collection. So that is the wide drawer. So that's the largest drawer here. And then the other pieces are sized based on that. So the wide drawer is going to be the largest piece in the system. And then you have half drawers, which are going to be half the width. Then you have quarters, which are going to be quarter the width. And then they also have short and tall. So short is going to be half the height of the tall drawer. So if that's going to make sense as we go through the different pieces. And I'm going to start out with the smallest piece, and this is the quarter short acrylic drawer, and it's a quarter of the width of the wide drawers, and then it's half the height of the tall drawer. So that's this little guy right here, and it's a very small drawer. It measures 3 1/4 inches. So 3 1/4 inches by 8 1/2 inches by 2 inches high. So that's the dimensions, and this one costs $11.99, and I typically use this to store pencil type items, so items that don't really need that much space but they do take up length. So I can use this for pencils, I use these for brushes and different items like that. Now one thing I know I'm going to get asked is how high can you stack items in this? Now I'm going to use a small MAC eyeshadow for reference. This is the drawer. If you turn it on the high side of the eyeshadow, it's too tall for the drawer and the drawer won't close. So you can't stack small eyeshadows in there facing long way up, but you can face them flat way and they will fit perfectly, no issues. You can also fit a fluid line, which is a little bit higher. So a fluid line from MAC, which is a bigger packaging or a taller packaging, it will fit with no issues as well. You'll also be able to fit stick type products in here. So this is the Makeup Forever HD Stick Foundation. That will fit also without an issue. So it can fit relatively high items, but you can't overstack it. The next piece we have is the quarter tall drawer, which means it is twice the height of the short drawer. Like I mentioned before, you have the short and the tall. So this is the tall drawer, but it is still only quarter the width. So the quarter sizes will stack exactly on each other, just like that, without any overhang. And these are, again, quarter the width of the wide drawers. And this one is a little bit deeper, so you can stack taller products in this. This, I have my lens, my extra lens, and some different camera equipment in here. And the dimensions for this guy is 3 1/8 inches wide, 8.5 long, and then 3.5 inches high. So if you have products that are a little under 3.5 inches tall, they should fit in here. So for instance, I have, again, the Makeup Forever HD Stick Foundation. This guy's too tall to fit in there. But then I have this other foundation stick from Lancome, which fits perfectly in the drawer. And then lipsticks, like this one is the CoverGirl lipstick, they will fit in there as well. So if you have square lipsticks that stand up on their own, even a MAC lipstick would also fit. So you can use this for stacking lipsticks if that's your preference, but you're gonna stack them so that they fit snugly and don't fall all around if you want to stack them standing up. So this one is a good one for 2 products that are less than 3.5 inches tall. And the quarter tall drawer is $14.99 each. Now we're moving on to the half sizes, and this is the half short drawer. And again, it is the same height as the quarter short. So the shorts all are the same height. This guy measures 6 1/4 inches wide, 8.5 inches long, and then 2 inches high, as with the other quarter drawer. And this guy is one of my most used drawers. I use this to store my brushes. It is wide enough that I can have a lot of brushes in here, but it is not high enough that I'm wasting space above the brushes. So I'll show you some of my brushes that I store. Here I have a drawer of face brushes. So you see they're larger size face brushes, like these. They're large powder brushes, and I just stack them in here. And I like to keep my brushes now in drawers. I used to have them displayed on my desk, but I found that they were gathering dust and it was getting too dusty, so I only place my most used brushes on top of my desk, and then the other brushes I store them in the drawers when they're not in use. And here is one with some of my eye brushes. So again, because they're short, I'm not really wasting space by storing really thin items like pencils and brushes in them. And it's the same height as the quarter sized one, so you can fit the same items in it. It's just that you have more space now to move around. So you can put eyeshadows in there, paint pots, fluid lines, different products of about 2 inches high. And that guy again is $14.99 each. Now let's move on to the half tall drawer, and this one is again double the height of the short drawers, but now it's the width of half the width of the wide drawers. So this one is again 8.5 inches long. I think I can leave that out now because all of them are 8.5 inches long, but it's 6 1/4 inches wide and 3.5 inches tall. So the tall drawers are 3.5 inches tall. And this one I have my concealers in it. You can see I have quite a few concealers in here, and I can stack them, and because it's clear I can see all the products, and because it's wide enough I can kind of sort through the products without losing them in the mess. Now this drawer is another drawer that I find very handy because it is just the perfect height to store products like these little compacts. So I have my Anastasia Beverly Hills highlight powders, the illuminators in here, and you can see the height of these products, and they stack beautifully in this. I also have my Becca highlight powders, my pressed highlight powders. I have my Hourglass ambient lighting powders. Well, these are the strobing powders, and here's one of the ambient powders. So you can see it's pretty handy for storing tall products like this, and I really love it for this. And I also have a couple of different products here too. These are the Lorac liquid lusters, and these are a taller bottle, and they stack up really, they line up really nicely in here. without issue. And I also stack some of my little kabuki brushes. Again, I want to keep them dust free, and this is like the perfect place to put them because they're not smushed or anything on the top. They're just perfectly sitting there nice and clean in these drawers. And again, because of the height, these are perfect for stacking lipsticks as well. So lipsticks like the NARS Audacious lipsticks, the MAC lipsticks actually line up really nicely in these, and they stack really beautifully. And then shorter products like the little sticks that I showed you from Lancome. So it has to be a specific height. It's not quite tall enough to handle foundations. This is one of my shorter bottles of foundation. That is the Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Plus, and it's too tall to fit into this without laying it on its side. So just keep that in mind. Lipstick height, you should be fine to stack within these drawers. And those retail for $19.99 each. Now we're gonna move on to the wide drawers, which are the base of the collection. These are the widest drawers in the collection. And I just pulled out the regular wide drawer. These are $29.99 each, and they're 12.5 inches wide and 2.5 inches high. So they're the same height as the short drawers. So these are gonna be the widest part, and I really love these. I have multiples of these, as you can see, and they stack things really beautifully. Like, look how they stack my paint pots. Isn't this beautiful? And as you can see, there's still some wasted space on top, so I could actually layer like a MAC eyeshadow on top of those, and you can have multiple 2 layers of products. So depending on how you want to stack your items, you can go ahead and stack them there. And I'll show you some other products that they hold and how high the products go. For instance, I have my powders here, and I have my Naked Skin loose powder, and this is a pretty tall jar, and it fits very nicely in here with room to spare. And again, you can double stack products as well. So I have 2 compacts here that are stacked on top of each other. I also have a drawer here filled with glitters, and these are the matte glitters, and they come in the pigment size jars. So this height will still hold up in these drawers without an issue. They stand up, and I just put them with the top down because I want to see the color. But you can stack your pigments in this drawer. The older style jars will also fit in here with no issues. And I have my lit glitters here as well that I stack in here, and these are a nice height as well, and they fit nicely. And like I said, you can double stack products in here, and I'll show you an example of that as well. And that would be my ColourPop drawer. So you see I have double layers of the ColourPop products in here, just like that. There are 2 layers of them, so that's how I stack them in here. And you can also lay them on their sides. So these are the larger size ColourPop containers. These are the blushes, and they stack on their sides with no problem. So you can also stack them like that, or you can stack them with 2 layers of products. So these drawers are really handy. They're really great for stacking products. And if you have larger products like foundations, you can stack them on their sides, but again, they're not tall enough to hold really high products. So eyeshadows you could stack with 2 layers, or you can stack products that are relatively that height. And there's also a wide hinged box. So instead of a pull-out drawer, it has a hinge, and you can stack that at the very top of your collection or your storage organization system, and just flip the lid and store whatever you want to store in there. Again, it will store the same height products as the wide drawers themselves, but now you have a hinge instead of a drawer. Now, I didn't find that really effective for how I stack my drawers, so I ended up using it as an open-ended tray to just stack products that I use on my desk. The hinge may or may not be a good fit in your collection. Just keep that in mind, that it would need to be free of anything on top, and those hinged boxes are $23.99. They also have an actual tray included, and that's the wide modular tray, and that guy is 1¼ inches high. So if you really just are looking for a tray, that's a good one to go with as well. But keep in mind that it is shorter than the drawer systems. So I use the trays right here, and I showed you that, where I just stack products in it. So if you're just looking for something to put on top of the system so you can stack products in, that is a good option, and those are $14.99. So they're cheaper than the hinge box, but they have the same purpose for me. So really, I could have just gotten a tray rather than getting the hinge box. But since I had it and I didn't want to bother with returning it, I just kept it and repurposed it. The newest items to the collection are the divided drawers, and these are still the wide drawers, but now they have dividers. And the one that I have is the 4-section one, and that one is $32.99. And it's the same dimensions as the wide drawer, but it has 4 dividers in it. So you have 4 separate sections. And this is the only one of that I have because it is a pricier one. But it is nice to lay out my lip products. And you can see I have my lipsticks, my lip pencils. I have those long type products in here. So it'd be good for eyeliners and lengthy products. Or if you just want to divide up your products. So if you have eyeshadows from different brands and you wanted to separate them by brand, or however you wanted to, you know, organize your products in here, you have the option of using a 4-section organizer. And I really like this as well. Again, it's going to hold the same height as the wide drawers. So any products that would fit in those would fit in these as well. And I find this really handy for these products, but I wouldn't go ahead and spend the extra money to just get the divider when I can just organize my products in the wide drawers themselves without the divider. It is not that big a deal to me, but the one that I have is handy for my lip products. So you might find that handy or, you know, more conducive to your organization than just a wide drawer by itself. But keep in mind that they're more expensive. And there's also a 12-section one, which divides the 4 drawers into 12. And that one I think is better suited for, say, someone that's into arts and crafts, or that does a lot of sewing, or that designs jewelry, or, you know, has different beads and stuff to organize in those little sections, because they're very small sections. They're not the best for makeup collections. They may work for jewelry as well, where you can store rings and earrings and separate them that way. So that one is another handy one, and that one is the most expensive one at $36.99. But again, I think that one is better suited for arts and crafts and stuff like that rather than for a makeup collection, because you would have to store very small items. But maybe you want to stack eyeshadows in there and have very small sections to really separate them out. That's up to you. But that is the complete modular system. I will leave a link down below where you can find these. And there are a couple of other drawers that I have as well that are similar, but they're a little bit cheaper. So they're ones that I will mention, so you can probably consider those. Those are the ones that I actually have on my desk itself. And these are not as wide as the Luxe system, but they still have the same function. They have a pull-out drawer as well, and they work pretty well. So these are cheaper alternatives, and I'll link those as well. And these are meant for office organization, so they're actually paper organizers. And they have a landscape version and then a portrait version. So you know how paper, if you print it landscape, it's the long way, and then it's portrait, it's the regular way. And those are $24.99 each. So you save a couple of dollars going that way. They still fit in with the system, but they're not as wide, so there's going to be a little bit of a gap. But the height is relatively the same. They're 2.5 inches high. So all the products that would fit in the wide drawer will fit again in these drawers. And here's an example of what I have on my desk. I have my Pure Cosmetics eye polishes in here, and some different eyeshadows that I have on my desk. And I've even stacked some eyeshadows, the square top eyeshadows. These are the Estee Lauder Pure Color Envy eyeshadows. I stacked them upright in these drawers and they fit perfectly. Again, they're the same height as the wide drawers. They are just not the same width. They're a little bit less in width, so they won't fit exactly with the modular system, but you may choose those over the modular system since they're a little bit cheaper. And then the other thing that I have is a large stacking tray, and this is a better alternative for me than the short stacking tray from the system. It has a similar height as the wide drawer, so it's not quite 2.5 inches, but it's 2.25 inches high, and it's just a little bit over the width of the drawers. And this guy I use to stack my face products on my desk. So you see, it's a great tray because it is high enough to hold the products in place so nothing is toppling over. My bottles of foundation are a little taller, so they're easy to topple over. So I need a higher tray to stack these than the short tray here. So I found this one very helpful, and I'll link this one as well. And it's cheaper. It's $11.99, and you can find this also at the Container store. So I definitely love this tray, and I would have chosen this guy over the hinged box, but again, I didn't want to return it. So it's an alternative to using the hinged box or using one of these trays. And then the very last one I have would be the original beauty box. Again, this was sent to me, but I find it nice and handy. Just keep in mind that it is a one-piece organizer. So it's a 5-drawer organizer, and it comes just like that. And I like the option to customize my system. So that's why I like the system where I can customize it versus a drawer where I only have one design to choose from. I do like the box. This is the deluxe version, so it has the 5 drawers. I do like the box for organizing my lip products. It came in very handy for that. And these guys have the dividers. So this one, like the first drawer, has 2 dividers, so I can organize my lip pencils. Those are my ColourPop lippy sticks and lip pencils. And then the second drawer also has 2 dividers, and I organize my liquid lipsticks and some lip glosses from Anastasia Beverly Hills. So 3 of the drawers are that same kind of design, and then the bottom drawer is a little bit higher, so it's a bit higher that you can stack lipsticks in it, and that's what I did with my Urban Decay lipsticks, some of my Marc Jacob lipsticks, and then I have some other lip products organized here. It is divided in 2, but it is a little higher than the middle 3 drawers. And then the very top drawer is a very shallow drawer, so I can only stack eyeshadows in here. And you can't really stack a fluid line or a paint pot in there because you see it's a little bit too high for that. But small eyeshadows like my Urban Decay eyeshadows or my MAC eyeshadows fit in there perfectly. And they're nice and organized. So if you're just looking for a simple one-piece system, this guy is $159, which is pricey. But if you're looking for a nice one-piece system and you can get a coupon code, it's a good one to check out because it's a nice clear plastic. It's really heavy duty. It's a very good quality box. I just find it very pricey. The original version of this, I think, has 4 drawers, and that guy is $119. So for me, I'd rather get the different pieces and organize it this way. And with the Container Store, you can sign up for their coupons and get a discount code, and you can also get rebates on them. So I actually like this system because I can customize it. But again, this box is still very handy for me to organize my lip products. So if you were thinking about it, that's a good way that you can use it. And if you go ahead and buy 5 of the drawers from the Luxe system, so if you buy 5 of the wide drawers, those are $29.99 each. So you're gonna end up paying $150 for 5 of the drawers, which is a little bit less than the original beauty box or the deluxe beauty box with the 5 drawers. And you get a lot more space, and you can be more creative with separating your items versus having the dividers in the original beauty box. So you can think about that, consider it. It's gonna amount to the same kind of price for the same size, or, well, the Luxe system is gonna be a little bit larger. So keep that in mind. And I know that was a lot to go through, but hopefully it was helpful for you guys, and it answered a lot of your questions about my organization back here. I really find it handy, and it's really beautiful to display my products. Now on top, I have a lot going on. I've stacked palettes on there. I've stacked bottles of products up here, and then I have a couple of drawers from Bed Bath & Beyond that I stack my lipsticks in. So, you know, I have a lot going on, but it's really effective for me, and I think it's really beautiful, and it's nice to display my makeup instead of just stacking them in drawers where I don't see them. Just come out and play and beautify this room. So hopefully this video was helpful for you guys that were curious about my system. And if you want to check them out, again, I'll leave links to where you can find these products, again, available at the Container Store and the original beauty box. So until my next video, which will be very soon, I'll talk to you. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.